Hello everyone, welcome back. This is a Curious Introvert. In the last tutorial, we created a simple FastAPI satellite API, and in this video, I will attempt to deploy it to Google Cloud using their Cloud Run service. I haven't used Cloud Run before. This is going to be my first experience. So in addition to working through the deployment, I will also give my first impressions. If you haven't watched the previous video, which I will link to, I suggest that you do, unless of course you're only interested in the Cloud Run component. In that case, let's go right on ahead. The code for the API is available on GitHub. I'm going to leave a link in the description. I also set up a project, brand new project on Google Cloud Platform. Now let's go ahead and start seeing what up. The nice thing about Google Cloud Platform is that their documentation is getting better. I remember the first time I played around with GCP back in early 2018, and there wasn't a whole lot of documentation. In that aspect, they're getting a lot better. And honestly, I like Google Cloud's documentation over the AWS documentation. The AWS documentation is pretty thorough. It is very technical though, and has a steep learning curve. And the nice thing with Google Cloud Platform is they have a lot of quick starts with code examples and even buttons that take you directly to the pages that are relevant to the tutorials. Okay, so I mean, it's not too bad. You create the application. I mean, we already have the application. That's not a big deal. Then we can use Cloud Build. That's cool. I don't have gcloud on my machine. I'll need to install that. Python 3.5 to 3.7. Let's see what the global version is. So we have 3.77. That'll work. Nice. I guess this will work. It's a pretty nice installer. Let's see if it works. Insecure directories. I've never seen this before. I don't know what it's about. Like always, we'll Google it. Okay, there we go. We'll want to change the permissions on this directory. Okay. Wrong directory. Didn't work. I'll just close everything. I'm not really a systems guy, as you might be able to tell. Oh, okay. So I guess that did work. Now we just have one directory that needs to change permissions. Beautiful, beautiful. Now we are on to the next thing. We're about to try gcloud. Okay, showed an error up there for something, but it seems to be working. Command name argument expected. Okay. Well, gcloud is installed. That's the important thing here. Now we can run commands from the tutorial. Gcloud init. Sure, I will log in. I am now authenticated. And picked the project. Project's been set. So that's nice. This is cool. We have gcloud installed and initialized. Should be a pretty smooth trip from here. Let's find out. We don't need this tab anymore. We can come back over here. So we can try to build our Docker file. All right, well, we have production settings missing in this Docker file. Let's go ahead and set this up. What I like to do is that after this develop stage, I like to have a pre-production stage that is pretty similar to the dev that installs the necessary packages, and then we copy those packages from pre-production to production, and that makes a smaller, cleaner Docker file that doesn't have caches and stuff of the sort. Just like development, we're going to copy from the base stage. We're going to copy everything from base. And then we're going to install the packages. And we're going to use the user flag to install the package in the current working directory so we can copy it from the pre-production stage to the production stage. And that's it. So now we can create the production stage. We're going to copy the packages that we created in pre-production to production. Oop. On this last line, we added the package directory to the path so that the Python interpreter can find the packages that we copied over from pre-production. And of course, we still need these two here. Actually, if I remember correctly, the Unicorn documentation recommends using Unicorn and just using the Unicorn as a worker. So here in the Unicorn documentation, in the deployment section, they talk about the standard deployment. We used this setup in the last tutorial for local development, and now they recommend using Unicorn for production. Let's do that. In addition to the setup py, which will install our application and all the packages that are required, we'll want to install Unicorn. So we're going to add that here. And then let's set Unicorn as the entry point. We can have Unicorn be the entry point here, and we can pass in commands. I think that's it. I haven't used Google Cloud Build before. One thing I'm not sure about is if we can specify the stage. I'm assuming we can. Well, this is cool. You can use a configuration file for building. I found a sample on GitHub of a cloud build YAML file that has multi-stage support. Okay, I created a cloud build YAML file to store the configuration. We're going to specify our target as production. Now we should be able to submit this build. Fail. Let's try again. The issue I had here is that the file extension that I saved the cloud build file as is YML instead of YAML. Let's build. It's doing something, that's for sure. Still doing its thing. Okay, well, it failed. And it failed In our last stage, production, it's saying can't find that directory. I'm going to build this image locally to debug what's going on. It helps if I have Docker running. Let's try again. And indeed, there is an issue. I know why. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do here is run the container locally on my machine. And if it works, I'm expecting that it'll work when we deploy to Cloud Run. Since I use Docker Compose so much, I forget how to run with straight up Docker. Let's check out our image first. Quik Sat. And we need our environment variable for the satellite data. Maybe you need to put quotes around that. Environment variable. Negative. What am I doing wrong with this Docker run command? Okay, let me try running Docker without the environment variable. I want to rule that out. /it Quik Sat. Okay. No application module specified. Rookie mistake. I'm glad we're debugging this here locally. That way when we get to running it on Cloud Run, it should run out of the box. Our application name is API. And we'll need to rebuild our image. Okay, this is cool. Gunicorn now works after specifying our application. We're getting an error on the environment variable. I think I know what's going on. I forgot a dash on the env flag. That appears to have worked. Let's find out. Okay, let's open Insomnia and let's see if we can reach the API. Server returned nothing. Let's check out the logs. Because we didn't set the host to 0000 on Gunicorn, we're not able to connect to Gunicorn from outside of the container. We need to set the host on Gunicorn. Let's build this image again and try to run the API. The build worked. Now let's run it. I'm going to remove the detach flag so we can see the logs here. Nice. Excellent. We have been able to start up our API locally. We fixed all the Dockerfile issues, and now we can go back to trying to build using Cloud Build. I expect it to work this time. And it finished with a status success. Now that Cloud Build finished, we expect that the image will be in the container registry. And indeed, as expected, Quik Sat is now in the registry and our image is here waiting. Now we can proceed to deploying this image using Cloud Run. I guess it's as simple as running this command. We can probably deploy from the UI as well. Create service. Quik Sat. Let's allow unauthenticated invocations. Advanced settings. We need port 8000. We don't need all that. I don't think we need a service account. We do need environment variables. Here we go. Let me double check the container image URL. Actually, I'm going to copy it from here. Let's see what happens. Ouch. Let's check out the logs. Now, I'm not sure what's going on here. It's saying that unicorn was not found, even though we ran this image locally and it worked. I guess what we can try to do is run the cloud build image locally. Let me copy the name of the image and I'll try to run it locally. Well, isn't that bizarre? It appears to have worked. Now we know that the image is fine. There's something wrong in the cloud run configuration. Container failed to start, and then listen on the port defined by the port environment variable. It looks like there's a specific setup that cloud run is expecting. This is the default entry point that cloud run expects, and we need something a little bit different. This sample project actually uses an app.py file, and then it sets up the unicorn as a command similar to how we did that. That's why. I think that will work. Let's build the image again. Now that the image built, let's try to run it locally and make sure it works. I removed the SHA from the URL of the image so that it will just pull latest. Let's add the port. Okay, it's erroring out. Cannot connect to port 8000. Maybe that. I'm going to debug it locally again. Now it's built, let's try to run it. Port is not a valid port number. I'm going to change the Docker file a little bit to look more like this. If I were to deploy this container to Kubernetes, it would look more like what I have here. But since that is not working, I'm going to change it to look similar to the example in Cloud Run's Quick Start. Okay, cool. Looks like we got it working again locally. And indeed we did. Let's resubmit this build to Cloud Build. The build was successful. Let's try to set up this container in Cloud Run again. And we're still getting the same error. Well, shoot. Still says no module named Unicorn. Now I'm looking at the troubleshooting. We have confirmed that it is running locally. Your container must listen for incoming requests. Configure your application to start the HTTP server to listen on all network interfaces. We did that. We did not do that, actually, not here. Try again. Excellent. Now let's try to run the image that we built in Cloud Build locally to make sure it still works. Yep, it works. Let's try to deploy the image again. We can see here in the UI that it is setting up our container. And it errored out again. Okay, look at this here. The port is set to 8080. Let's set it as 8080 for production. I'm going to try to set up Unicorn a little different to see if we can get that to work. Alright, so I created this Unicorn config file and put everything that we would put in the command in a Docker file now is in this file. Now that we've put our configuration in a py file, let's go change the Docker file. We don't need this anymore because it's in the config file now. We're now telling Unicorn to use our config file. In all the examples, I haven't seen exposed being used, so I'm going to remove that. Let's build this image again. Now that we built this image again, let's test it locally and see if it still works. Google Cloud Run uses port 8080. We made a rookie mistake. We didn't copy the Unicorn config file. Actually, we probably want that in production. Let's build the image again. Okay, looks like it's running again locally. Of course, the port is now different. I'm setting up a new environment in Insomnia that we can use to test, and I'm changing the base URL. Dev prod cannot connect to server. It's localhost 8080. And indeed, the problem is that we set the port to 8000. We need to change it to 8080. Okay, we have it running again locally. Let's try to set up Cloud Run again. And it's still failing. I don't get it. I'm going to try something else. Instead of installing Unicorn in pre-production, I'm going to install it in our production stage. There might be something with the location of Unicorn that is causing Cloud Run to not work. I am rebuilding the image now. Nice. Let's run it again locally. Cool, it's working. No go. Let me try to configure it from the UI now. I'm wondering if the environment variable for the satellite data is what's missing and causing Unicorn to not work. And the other thing too is I'm wondering if it's using a stale version of an image. So I'm going to specify the image exactly. It's still failing. I think we've made some progress. Now it looks like UVcorn is what is causing this to fail. No module named UVcorn. Even though I like to have this pre-production stage, I'm wondering if that's what's causing the issue. Because now that I installed Unicorn in production, we got a little bit further. So I'm going to get rid of pre-production and go straight to production. Now that the image built, let's try to run it again locally. Okay, and it works. Let us try to redeploy to Cloud Run. That's it. Looks like we got it. Let's give it a run. All right, I'm going to create a new environment. I'm going to set this to red since it's production. Look at that. Beautiful. We did it. We have deployed our FastAPI application to Cloud Run, and it's working now. It looked like it cold started when it first ran. The request took just over a second, but now it's running pretty snappily. That's actually pretty fast, even with the latency of it being deployed remotely. I'm pretty satisfied with that speed. What I've learned through this process is that Cloud Run expects the application to run on a specific port. You can override it, but it's already defaulted to port 8080, and it has general expectations of how the application is structured in the Docker file in order for it to run properly. But I'm pretty excited though. This is cool. This is the first time that I deployed to Cloud Run. Now that I've gone through this process once, I can see that it's actually pretty simple. As long as the Docker file is properly configured, it's a pretty quick and simple process. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and now you've seen me struggle through deploying this application to Cloud Run, and you can learn from my mistakes. Be on the lookout for more tutorials. You can also leave comments if you'd like to see me work on something specific and put out a tutorial. All right, everybody, till next time, take it easy and keep on learning.